Jewish noises!
That individual philosophical concepts are not something arbitrary, something growing up autonomously, but on the contrary, grown up, connected, and related to one another. That however suddenly and arbitrary they appear to emerge in history of thought, on the contrary, grew up, connected, and related to one another. That however suddenly and arbitrarily they appear to emerge in the history of thought, they nonetheless belong just as much to a system as do the members of the fauna of a continent. That fact is, in the end, also shown in the fact that the most diverse philosophers unfailingly fill out, again and again, a certain basic scheme of possible philosophies. Under the invisible spell, they always trace once more the identical orbit. However independent of one another they may fill, with their will to criticism or systematism, something in return, something in them leads them, something drives them in a definite order, one after another. It is precisely that innate systematism and relationship of concepts. Their thinking is, in fact, not so much a discovering as a recognizing, a remembering, a return and homecoming to a far-off, primordial, total household of the soul out of those concepts once emerged. Philosophizing is to that extent a species of atavism of the first rank. The singular family resemblance between all Indian, Greek, and German philosophizing is easy enough to explain. Where there exists a language affinity, it is quite impossible, thanks to the common philosophy of grammar, I mean thanks to unconscious domination and directing by similar grammatical functions, to avoid everything being prepared in advance for a similar evolution and succession of philosophical systems, just as the road seems to be barred to certain other possibilities of the world interpretation. Philosophers within the domain of the Altaic languages, in which the concept of subject is least developed, will in all probability look into the world differently and be found on different paths from Indo-Germans and Moslems. Moslems? Is that like a Muslim? Is that like Muslim?
I think it's
Muslim. That's like the Moblins.
Moblins?
It's Muslimans for me.
Yeah, it says Moslems for me. Moslems.
Huh. For me, it literally says Mussulmans.
Huh. The spell of definite grammatical functions is, in the last resort, the spell of physiological value, judgments, and racial conditions. So much, by the way, of retort to Locke's superficiality with regard to the origin of ideas. The causa sui is the best self-contradiction hitherto imagined, a kind of logical rape and unnaturalness. By mankind's
rape?
Yes. By mankind's extravagant pride, logical rape, the best kind of rape. Second best.
Logical rape.
I literally just says violent.
Best.
But mankind's extravagant pride has managed to get itself deeply and frightfully entangled with precisely this piece of nonsense. For the desire for freedom of will, in that metaphysical superlative sense, which is unfortunately still dominant in the minds of the half-educated. Like Hardluck. The desire the desire to bear the whole and sole responsibility for one's actions and to absolve God, world, ancestors, chance, society from responsibility for them is nothing less than the desire to be precisely that causa sui with more than Munchausen temerity. To put oneself into existence out of the swamp of nothingness by one's own hair. Assuming it is possible in this way to get beyond the peasant simplicity of this celebrated concept, free will, and banish it from one's mind. I would then ask whoever does that... What? In the butt.
Oh, I was just like, oh, never mind. Just keep reading.
Okay. Well, you seemed confused.
Wait. Oh, well, I didn't. I didn't let it
mind.
finish. So just keep reading.
Okay, Corbin. I would then ask whoever does that to carry his enlightenment a step further, and also banish from his mind the contrary of that unnatural concept, free will. I mean unfree will, which amounts to an abuse of cause and effect. One ought not to make cause and effect into material things, as natural scientists do, and those who, like them, naturalize in their thinking in accordance with the prevailing mechanistic stupidity, which has cause, press and push until it produces an effort. One might employ cause and effect only as pure concepts. And also we got Cinnamon on the screen right now, because he's the philosopher of our times. In accordance with the prevailing mechanistic stupidity, which has the cause to press and push until it produces an effect, and one ought to employ cause and effect only as pure concepts. That is to say, as conventional fictions for the purpose of designation, mutual understanding, not explanation. In itself, there is nothing of causal connection, of necessity, of psychological unfreedom. There is the effect does not follow the cause. No law rules. It is we alone who have fabricated causes. No, causes are real, you fucking idiot.
No, causes never existed.
Succession, reciprocity, relatively, compulsion, number, law, freedom, motive, purpose. And when we falsely introduce this world of symbols into things and mingle it with them as though this symbol world were an in itself, we once more behave as we have always behaved, namely, mythologically. Unfree will is mythology. Yeah, but you're just making it up right now. Like you're saying, if there's free will, there must be unfree will, and we need to get rid of both. What the fuck are you talking about? I guess I guess there are compulsions that we don't have. Like, we don't will ourselves to breathe, right? We don't will ourselves to wake up once we've fallen asleep. There's things like that I suppose would be unfree will. But I don't think that the concept of unfree will is really a thing that we could say is on the same level as free will. I guess you could argue with things like compulsions and addictions and things like that. Maybe that's what he's getting at. But to deny that free will is a concept that exists, I mean, granted, that's just deterministic at this point, then, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think like his views are very deterministic. Like, he is a subjectivist, determinist, blah, blah, blah.
In real life, it is only a question of strong and weak wills. It is almost a symptom of what is lacking in himself, whether a thinker detects in every causal connection and psychological necessity something of compulsion, exigency, constraint, pressure, unfreedom. Such feelings are traitors. They're rebel spies and traitors. Take them away. And the person who has them gives himself away. And if I have observed correctly, unfreedom of will is in general conceived as a problem from two complete antithetical standpoints. So is he talking about authoritarianism then? But always in...
Well, he definitely is an authoritarian, like...
Right, so is he saying that people who don't like not having free will, so people who are under authoritarianism, that he's just saying, well, you're stupid and you need to accept why this is real? Or why actually you're wrong and free will is an illusion? Is that what he's getting at, maybe?
Well, yeah, well, I mean, like, I think you can see why a lot of the things he says appeals to, like, Nazis.
Well, yeah, like, Nazis, like, built a lot of their ideology around shit this guy said, so...
Yeah.
Unfreedom of will is
and
general...
It's funny when they deny it, when they're like, oh, no, we didn't base our views off of Nietzsche, but it's like...
You clearly did.
Determinism, the subjectivism, determinism, and his views on free will, authority, power. Like, all of these things are like very reminiscent of shit I hear from white nationalists all the time.
Yeah. Unfreedom of will is in general conceived as a problem from two completely antithetical standpoints, but always in a profoundly personal manner. One will at no price give up his responsibility, his belief in himself, the personal right to hit his deserts. The vain races belong here. The other, on the contrary, will not be responsible for anything, to blame for anything, and out of the inner self-contempt wants to be able to shift off his responsibility for himself somewhere else. This latter, when he writes books, tends today to espouse the cause of the criminal. His most pleasing disguise is a kind of socialist sympathy, and the fatalism of the weak-willed is indeed beautified to an astonishing degree when it can present itself as la religion de la souffrance humaine. That is, its good taste. 22. I don't know why he had to be in French, you know what I mean? But,
Well, yeah, I think it's annoying because it's like, well, I don't fucking know what it means when you say.
Well, like I can more or less tell what that means. You know, like in that case, it's like, the religion of human will or something to that effect, right? Like that's kind of what that means. But like, why not just say that?
Yeah, that's what I mean though. Is it like Nietzsche? Like a lot of times, just like quote things in another language and then just leave it up to you to use context clues to figure out what the hell that means without.
Well, like, look, I think there is like value, like there can be poetic or like there can be reasons for like I can't think of any substantive reasons, but there can be
I just
having like
correct.
What I was gonna say is having like Latin mottos and stuff like that can be cool, but it doesn't necessarily do anything. Like, it can maybe be used to motivate because it sounds cool. So maybe from a rhetorical standpoint, there can be like an element of that there. But
personally, I like direct presentation over poetic shit.
I would largely agree, but I do think that poetic words can't, like, using words in a way that's not just straight up prose, like using words in a way that's like poetic or metaphorical or stuff like that can have an impact that people remember more because of the way it was used. So I can understand that to a degree, but when you do that like every other paragraph and it's just like, here's some stuff in Latin, here's some shit in French, here's some Greek, like, why?
Would you like me to read the rest?
Someone by the name of Rabid Waffles, who I actually know about because I did a video responding to one of their videos 2 years back, which we will explain later. They comment, Valerie Flowers is the best YouTuber. I'm his biggest fan. He really entertains me with his videos. What a guy.
Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original.